they said unto him, teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. And when they called him teacher, they didn't mean it in a good way. They were just mocking him.
Mm-hmm.
So they tried their best to get something on him so they could accuse him. But he knew that they had sin in their heart all the time. They had a sinful heart.
Mm-hmm.
So now go to verse 8. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Then when he wrote on the ground, he was giving them a chance to leave when he stooped down the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But they still were standing there, still want him to accuse the woman. And number 9, then those who heard it been convicted by their consent, their conscience,
Mm-hmm.
by their conscience, and went out one by one, began the eldest to the youngest, the oldest to the younger. And the reason they went when he stooped down the second time, he really was trying to give them a chance to leave. But they didn't go then. They still didn't want to go. They still want hit them to stone the lady. But when they said that she was caught in adultery, how did they know she was caught in adultery? Was they there?
Unless it was hearsay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He wasn't hearsay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Just like y'all said, how did they know?
Right,
So
right.
either y'all going by hearsay, or y'all there.
Oh, was y'all there?
And then you have to see it to accuse
Right.
somebody.
You gotta put your hand on.
Yeah, you have to.
Where there was two
Yeah,
that see the same thing, that
right,
gave them the validity of the accusation.
right.
Yeah. I like how you said in verse 8 earlier, you said Jesus gave them a chance to leave. You know, and so many times, how often does Jesus give us a way out?
Right.
You know, he presents stuff, hey, you shouldn't do that. You should actually turn around and go back the other way. And how often do we ignore the forewarning of Christ?
Right.
Say, hey, you don't need to go down that street, or you don't need to go that way. But we're like, oh, we got it. We okay. I'm a grown person. I can do it. But you know, and we get hard headed. You know, sometimes we have to learn the hard way.
Right, right.
He don't want us to, but sometimes we got to.
Yeah, so you have to be obedient. When you say something, you have to be obedient to the word. Yeah. And I looked up that convict, to bring to light, to expose.
Yeah.
Yeah. To bring to light, to expose. So when they left the second time, when he stooped down the second time, when he rose up, they left because he was going to expose them instead of them exposing the lady adultery.
Come on, say that again.
Flip the mirror.
Yeah, they trying to convict the woman, but they convicting themselves.
You're right. Yeah. They were going to be convicted.
And
Right.
he even have to say that he just wrote on the ground. He didn't have to open his mouth.
So then,
But then it says, and they which heard it. So that's very powerful in itself too. The brother was just saying. It didn't. In the previous, it didn't say he spoke to them. They said he wrote it.
right, right. On the
But their conscience was convicting them so bad. It was just like they heard him speaking to them. And a lot of times that's just like I've noticed that happened to me in the past. Something will be happening, and I could hear something saying to my conscience.
Right.
You need to do better about that situation.
Yeah.
You need to be mindful. You know,
Right.
be honest about what you're doing here.
Right.
Because something is you can hear something saying your conscience.
Yeah, we all have a conscience.
Yeah, so that's why I think that's real powerful. When it didn't even say he spoke to them, it said he wrote on the ground, and then they heard it.
And only Jesus and the woman were left alone.
The actions of Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're writing and not speaking, but you can hear it.
Right.
Do you know how powerful that is?
Mhm. That's very powerful.
Because at first he did speak in verse 7.
Uh-huh.
He told him, he that without sin among you, let him first cast a stone
Right.
at her.
Right.
Then he left it alone.
Yeah.
Then he wrote on the ground.
Mhm.
As he scribbles and writes on the ground, something in them is jolted.
Yes.
Right.
Just by his actions,
Right.
something is jolted in them.
Right.
You know, how powerful is that? To be changed just by his mere action.
Right. Didn't say a word, it just wrote on the ground. And they don't know what he wrote on the
Right.
ground.
You're right. They don't know what he's writing.
What he was right.
Well, whatever he was writing,
Right.
it convicted him.
Right. Convicted. Right.
They got gone.
Right. You know?
Because they know in their heart that they had sinned. They had already sinned.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to leave.
And I know last time we talked about, we talked about him writing on the ground, and most of the time the movies say he drawing a line.
Right.
But just say if he is writing on the ground, what if he's writing somebody's name on the ground, and then all of a sudden, boom, oh,
Right.
you know what, let me drop my rock and I'm gonna walk away.
Go.
Did he write a name in the ground and make you say, oh, you know what, yeah, I was with such and such last night, so I better go on and drop my stone and walk away.
I'm in the same shape the woman in. Because I have seen. Yeah. And whether we know it or not, that we all need a little time with Jesus alone. But nobody but us.
Yeah.
It worked the same way today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Verse 10. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?
Verse
Okay.
10 now.
Yeah. Is there anyone here that can continue with this persecution of you?
Right.
Before you read all of 10, I just want to jump back up to 9 just for a quick second.
Okay.
It's ironic that he speaks and says from the eldest to the youngest.
Yeah.
As you think about it, who's been living longer?
The elders.
So if they've been living longer, who maybe have more sins?
The elders.
The elders. And so if the elders have more sins than the younger ones,
Mhm.
it makes sense for them to be like, yeah, I better leave you alone because you may bring up some more stuff that these other people know
Right.
or don't know. Then what if they get these stones and start throwing them at me?
Right.
Since we try to throw these stones at this person. So, not saying that the younger ones didn't have sins, but most likely the elders had more sins than the younger ones. And so as they go away, the younger ones are most likely, you know what? If they ain't gonna put theirs down, I'm gonna have to put mine down too.
Right.
Just walk on out.
Down too. They will be exposed too.
And these elders that he's speaking about, we know these are the so-called church leaders, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the so-called that we know scripture, we know how to rightly divide, so-called.
Are you saying those are old church heads, people that's been in church all their life?
Yeah,
Supposed to know a lot of scripture,
yeah, supposed to know a lot of
supposed to be
scripture.
living a lot of scripture.
Supposed to be living a lot of scripture.
Hmm.
You can't go ahead for him, so.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, that's it.
What's always there is always a mixed multitude.
Mhm.
It's always, I mean, it's like church.
Right,
You got some old believers, you got some new believers, and you got some disbelievers
right,
and reprovers.
right.
It's always a mixed multitude because those that are curious are there, those that want to shut some stuff down, they're there. Those that want to incite, riots or gossip, they're there.
Mhm.
And all for the same, for different purpose, but all of them are curious about something.
Right,
And it's amazing that, the scripture that, all, everything done in the dark comes to the light.
right.
And that's a lot of the reason why, he that is without sin cast the first stone.
Uh-huh.
How I look, get ready to throw something at this person,
Mhm.
and then somebody in the crowd say, "No, you done see it. I see you do this."
Yeah,
Back at
uh-huh.
you.
Yeah,
It's a problem.
That's right,
yeah.
a serious problem.
And like we had spoke on it before earlier, we know this to be a real jacked up situation because the person that she committed the adultery with
Mhm.
is not there.
Mhm. No,
This is
nobody would
this is
want.
a one-sided kangaroo
Situation.
court
Mhm. Right,
because adultery takes two.
right.
The crazy thing, we say he ain't there. Who say he ain't in that crowd?
But
the
he might
first
have been
stone
one of-
picked up.
Might have been one of them.
But that's my other thing.
Put the spotlight.
You're right.
They had put him-
He's not there.
Yeah.
He ain't standing up there.
Right, right.
Right, right.
He's not out in front. He's not
Right, right,
specifically called out.
right, right.
Both of them should have been.
So that lets you know that this whole situation really ain't about the adultery.
Right. That's it. Go ahead, Ken.
Now, I like how in verse 5, see, they are already messed up. So they come to Jesus with the woman. They say, Moses' law said that we are to kill such women by stoning. What do you say about it? Okay, when we jump down to 9.
Mhm.
Now, Jesus didn't say nothing.
Mhm.
In 9, the Pharisees who heard him stood still for a few moments and then began to leave slowly, one by one, beginning with the older men. Now, they asked Jesus a question.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't say nothing, but he wrote something.
Right, right.
Now, whatever he was writing, it says one by one, slowly, started with the older men. Dropping your rock, walking by.
Yeah, easy to know out of that.
Now, do you want me to say this?
Yeah.
Or do y'all understand what I'm writing down here? Like, should I write it here? Or do y'all want me to expose it?
To say it out loud.
So they never did wait for the answer to their
No,
question.
they did.
No.
Well, they got the answer.
Yeah, they did.
Do you guys see it cast first stone?
Yeah,
That's the answer.
yeah. And that's why they left, because they know they had already seen it. And we see the way, go back to our walk by knowing that you have been given a second chance. Because, he would like you a second chance, but are you gonna do the same thing you did the first time before we got you that second chance? Yeah, keep on doing it over and over. As a stepping stone to come back out of darkness into the light. Let us imagine that the adultery woman repent, Jesus instruct her, and if she actually did it, she was saved by grace through Jesus Christ. Here we see that Jesus' goal is to always save souls and reveal salvation, only found in God's love.
Mhm.
Okay. Then it goes to number 11. Number 11. She said, no one, Lord, And he said to her, and said to her, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. When he told her to go sin no more, he didn't approve of her sin, but he approached her in a loving way and not self-righteous. That's when he told her to go sin no more. And then I got a scripture, it's Luke 7:50.
Luke 7:50.
Uh-huh.
And he said to the woman, thy faith has saved thee. Go in peace.
That's what he said, let's go in peace, because he didn't condemn her. But that's what they wanted him to do.
I like the Amplified at the end. It says, after it says, your faith has saved you, go enter into peace. It says, in freedom from all the distresses that are experienced as a result of sin. And see, that's another thing that you got to look at when you talk about when him saying, he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Right.
There's a lot of distress, a lot of anxiety that you have when you feel like you about to get busted out for your sin.
Right.
Because you want to keep that thing in the dark.
Right.
So it's another opportunity that Jesus, while he's saying, hey, and then he starts writing in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to look at yourself, when you start to see yourself as the person being victimized instead of the one that's holding the rock,
Right.
then you begin to experience that same anxiety. Who knows my sin? Who knows
Right.
what I've done?
Right.
And now,
Mhm.
while you hold the rock, getting ready to hit somebody else, you got to look around. It's like the old saying,
Right.
how you know the one that's doing the most talking. It's the when you throw a rock and hit a dog.
Right.
What's the
Somebody
saying?
gonna bark, you throw a rock, somebody gonna holler.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's the same thing in Jesus.
Mhm.
He breaks it to us that way.
Right.
We don't have no right to pick up nothing to throw at nobody.
Show don't. Show
And
don't.
that's why I like the last part when he says, where are your accusers?
Right.
Oh, anybody standing around? She said no. He said, and I ain't accusing you either.
Right. That's right. Okay. I can't speak like that.
So, there you go, bro.
Yeah, I can't relate, but I was what I was saying, and when he said go and sin no more, is I can convict you, condemn you neither.
Mhm.
So that has been a great release off of her because we have self-conviction,
Right.
and that ties us and weighs us down. It's a bondage on our neck.
Mhm.
So he said, go and sin no more. He's I condemn you not. So that was a great release right there. I don't know if that added anything to what y'all saying,
Yeah, it
but that's a great release right there. Because you come in, you get, that's just me, you come in and get convicted with your church members, and you already feel bad, and you already,
Mhm.
I have left from convicting myself.
Right.
So to be free from that conviction is great.
Yeah. That's right.
That's awesome point.
Just change.
I was just gonna add this one little small thing.
Mhm.
I was looking up the word go,
Uh-huh.
and it's so strange to me when he says go and sin no more. It means, it's one of the definitions, it says to pursue the journey on which one has entered, to continue on one's journey. So as soon as there's no one to condemn you,
Mhm.
now I need you to go and start a journey,
I knew it.
a new journey
Yeah.
that I've just given you. You are released from whatever they tried to do.
Right.
Now you have a new leash on life. Start this journey
Mhm.
and walk it. A second chance.
Right.
So your journey doesn't have to stop where people are trying to stone you. Your journey don't have to stop in the sin that you're in.
Right.
Your journey don't have to stop
Mhm.
because everybody else think you're at your last, you're at the rock bottom.
Thank you.
And even you thought you was at rock bottom. You thought that was the end of your life that day.
Right,
Now get up, start this journey that I put you on, and walk it out.
Yeah,
right, get you a fresh start.
Yeah.
yeah, that what Ken said, you know, it's so powerful because, you know, for those that have faith,
Mhm.
you cannot continue to self-convict yourself. Because what's the whole purpose of what Jesus did?
Right.
And Jesus was showing her right then, even though he had died for her, he stood in the gap for her
Mhm.
to basically say, hey, I'm here with you. Everybody else, your accusers, those who want to do you harm, I'm
Right,
here with you standing.
mhm.
And I'm not going to let nobody hurt you.
Right, right.
And so now, to tie with what Jesse's saying is, now here's your opportunity. You've been running everywhere, chasing whatever you want,
Mhm.
and it's caused you some stress.
Right.
How do you believe that? Look where you're at right now.
Mhm.
Butt naked,
Right, right.
right here with me. All your accusers done left.
Nobody but me and you standing here.
You stand naked before Jesus.
Mhm.
Before
Ooh,
God.
that's
That's good there.
And now all your sins,
right.
hey, you don't have no excuses to hold on to none of that.
Right.
And like he said, now you have opportunity. Now that everything's in the open.
Yeah.
Now you have opportunity to start this new journey, this new walk.
And move forward.
And I love it. That's why, you know, all have sinned, all fall short of the glory of God.
Right,
You've
right,
been aiming for all this other stuff.
right,
Now it's time for you to aim towards me.
right,
Aim at me.
right, right, right.
I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So in tune with this whole thing with when he said condemn you, and we know in the scriptures it says that
I got the scripture on that. I got it. John 3:17. I have it. So you can read John 3:17.
okay. John
17.
For God did not send the Son into the world to judge the world, but rather so that through him the world might be saved. And we know that was in the Hebraic version. I'll read it in the King James Version. It says, for God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So, right. It's not that condemnation is not from him, but light has come, and the condemnation is man continues. Well, if you continue to choose the darkness when the light is here, and that's like kind of what he's talking about when it says go on your journey. The Messiah was right there, the light in front of her, the light of the world.
Right, right,
Now you can walk in the light.
right.
You don't have to choose darkness any longer, because I'm not here to condemn the world.
Right.
Can I read it in the message?
Yeah, you can.
It says, we don't have enough already. God didn't go to all the trouble of sending his son merely to point in an accusing finger, telling the world how bad it was. He came to help, to put the world right again. Anyone who trusts in him is acquitted. Anyone who refuses to trust him has long since been under the death sentence without knowing it.
So what you saying? That's what you're saying. I'm not coming to condemn you, but if you keep doing what you're doing, you actually condemning yourself.
Yeah.
Right, right.
You're sending your own self to the death chair.
It even says, and why? Because of that person's failure to believe in the one of a kind Son of God when introduced to him.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
And then before I want to read 12 through 15 in chapter 8. I read 11, I want to read that.
8, John
12 through 15. Jesus told him.
Then spake the Messiah again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, Thou bearest record of thyself, thy record is not true. The Messiah answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. For I know whence I came and whither I go. But ye cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. Ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man.
So that's what Jesus was telling them. That's the end of the songs of the adultery woman.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's absolute love.
Right, love.
That's absolute love
Mm-hmm. Because he did it in love, what he told her.
and redemption.
Right. So that's all I have. I finish
Amen.
that up.
Amen.
That's what you gotta like that.
Go to my
No, it's over
Why y'all switch places? It's just like what you were just talking about, how the scene changed.
Right.
You know, it went from them trying to accuse or get him twisted up with the lady,
Right.
but then once everybody's gone, he comes back around and starts talking about him being the light.
Right.
And then they flip it and say, okay, so you talking about yourself as the light, so let's try to get you on this.
Mm-hmm.
They keep trying to flip it, try to entangle him into saying something,
Yeah.
to try to pin himself.
Yeah.
Instead of them actually looking and seeing everything you've already said and everything that you're doing is true and is good.
Right.
He's trying to bring hope to people, but they still just, instead of seeing the hope, is seeing the goodness that he's bringing. They just trying to tear him down more and more.
More and more. They had some on them all the time.
And like if I can get you that way, let me try this way.
Yeah, try another way.
And again, who was that?
Oh, them the church folks. And the mix, it was mixed multitude, but it was the Pharisees.
The main accuser.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was leaving this nation for it.
Mhm.
Lynch mob in the fullest.
Oh, they want that lynch mob mentality.
I guess I was right.
Craig, go ahead, you got it. Figure that was it. Father in heaven, we thank and we praise you, Lord, for the word that has gone forth, Lord. And we thank you, Father God, for blessing us to have a prepared word to follow, Lord. We ask, Father God, that you make this word available so that those that are not here can hear it, Father God. We ask, Father God, that there be any questions, Father God, that you bring clarity to our eyes, Lord. We thank you for your word, Father God. We thank you for the challenge of getting this word in us and getting it out to other people, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Good evening. Right, I will be coming from John 18, 1 through 27. And it's the arrest and betrayal of Jesus. And we're also going to be looking at Luke 22. All right, and in John 18, we're going to actually start at verse 24. That reads, "And now Annas has sent him bound unto Caiaphas, the high priest,
And Simon Peter stood and warned himself. And they said therefore unto him, art not thou also one of his disciples? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, said, did I not see thee in the garden with him? Peter then denied again. Let's get one. And immediately the cock crew. So what we're looking at tonight will be denying Christ. And we're going to take that on over to Luke 22, please. And it'll be Luke 22, 31 and 32. All right, and it says, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen my brother. So, standing on the ancient stones near Caiaphas' house, I imagine Jesus and his disciples leaving the upper room. Traveling by foot, these faithful men followed their teacher as they headed east of the city walls to the Garden of Gethsemane. They would have passed near Caiaphas' house, where Jesus would be tried before the high priest and denied by his friend and follower Simon Peter. But passing the high priest's house, Jesus must have thought of Peter's soon betrayal. It's like, what pain it would be to know that the level of personal rejection as you face, something difficult in your life. It's like, okay, you have just a trying time coming up against you within hours. And someone that you've been like this with for 3 years, right? They're gonna turn it back on you. And it's like, wow, when you're going through something, you need your support system. You're gonna need someone to back you, to strengthen you, to encourage you, to refuel you if need be. But to know that, okay, I already know that you're not gonna do that, that's tough. That's tough. So, as recorded in Luke's gospel, Jesus spoke with Simon Peter before leaving the upper room, warning him of the common test, which I just read, verses 31 and 32. And what that makes me think of is the divide and conquer skill of Satan. That was his plan. And it was like, he actually got it half done. When you think about it. And then, but he turned two of his disciples on Jesus, which was Peter and Judas. But glory to God that the conquering was all of Jesus. All right. And I believe that each of us would have responded, the same way to Jesus' warning, because it's like, okay, Peter was like, in verse 33, Lord, I'm ready to go to prison with you. I'm down like, go flat. We say, without faith, like they say now, you might ride or die, you might ride. But when stuff started happening, you know what I'm saying? To get back and hold up, I thought you was my friend. And imagine how Jesus must have felt like, okay, nothing that we've experienced, nothing that we've experienced had any effect on you. The relationship that they built in that time frame, 3.5 years. And then when I need you, and you have these people, saying, I'm jumping ahead of myself. And he says, okay, Peter said, Lord, I'm ready to go to prison with you and even to die with you. And it's just like, we say that, our faith is unwavering until it's tested. It's like, Jesus I live, Jesus I die. We about to see. And it's easy to say than to walk it out. Because when our backs are up against the walls with life's, trials and tribulations, we know that Jesus is with us. But my thing is, we want to fix it ourselves. We want to do it our own way. And, we end up, messing it up. Because if we end up turning back, Jesus, I need your help. I need your help, Lord. And he was like, if you became me first time, he wouldn't be in this situation. But we want that popcorn type, that instant gratification, those instant answers, and it's not like that. Everything is a process. Everything is a process. And going before, and I said this before, when you move ahead of the Lord, you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
If you go before, if you move before God says move, Jesus say move. If you just like the word says, be still and know that I am God. And so many people are their own gods. They end up, back at square one or worse.
Yeah, especially when you say your prayer and you come to him and you lay your burden on him and you're asking for him to move in your favor. I mean, because I know that is because I can just attest to that. Just about a month ago, 2 months ago, deep freeze at our house had went out, and I told my mother, I said, well, she didn't just come by and I said, Mother, don't worry about it. We're gonna let God take care of this, and we're not gonna worry about how we're gonna have to address this. We're gonna pray and ask God to deliver another freezing. So after me and I was praying about that and talking about it, about 2 or 3 weeks later, a person came to the house. They hadn't been to the house, hadn't seen us in years, and they were sitting there talking, and they were just talking about different stuff, and somehow I know the subject came up about the freezer, and the individual said, well, let me look at it. And the whole time I got upset because I said, why are you gonna run your mouth about our business? Because back consciously in my mind, I'm saying, I'm gonna be the one to replace this freezer. But then as I went through all those steps and I'm thinking about her doing what she did, and I get mad, and no sooner I walk back into the room, it seemed like something said to me, where you got a job at to buy a freezer? Didn't you ask me to take care of this? And I'm like, well, yeah, right. I'm not working. I don't have no way to buy a freezer. And I'm just trying to say how it affected me by when I tried to run ahead and I had already prayed about this. And a couple of weeks later, the phone call comes. You need to be at home because a new freezer is coming. It's bought, it's paid for. All you gotta do is receive it. It's like the pastor was saying, God was already working on the front end. If she hadn't opened her mouth to say what was going on with her, so he was working on the back end too, for her to say something that was going on with her. But with me, I want to jump in and I'm about to mess this thing up because I get upset. Because I feel like you shouldn't be in there talking. But the whole lesson for me in that was that you had already prayed about this. You had already turned it over to me. And now you're going to try to jump in and take it back over. And like I said, as soon as it came, when I did that, it came in my mind. And I was walking back, something said to me, where do you have a job at to buy this? How are you going to do this when you asked me to do this? And I just thank God that, I went and I felt so bad. I went and I prayed and I asked God to forgive me for me being arrogant at that moment. Because that's really all I was doing, being arrogant and being mad because this individual hadn't seen us in so long. Not knowing that the prayer had been already answered.
Right.
So that's all.
It shows that our process ain't the same. The way we judge processes is different the way that Jesus sees the process. We may look at the process the way we think it should go, but he has the process already under control.
Yeah. And you have to, thank God that he does have it under control. It's because all power is in his hand. Because if we do, we're gonna mess it up. We're gonna mess it up. And it's like, I've gotten to a point, too, in my life where I was like, okay, I have no other choice but to give it over to the Lord. Because, I'm grateful for his grace and mercy for me to see the years I've seen. And, and also, when I do reflect back, it's like, I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. But, grateful nonetheless, because when I decided, okay, I'm giving it to you, take care of it, because I can. And it's such a burden, because like Mother Reed was saying, one of you made the comment, there was a burden lifted off the woman. Once Jesus said, go and sin no more. Second chance, it's like, even with, all the things that I've experienced in my life, more than a second chance. More than a second chance. And I'm like, hallelujah. All right. And let's see now. Okay. I'm taking verse 34 again. But Jesus said, Peter, let me tell you something. Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny me 3 times that you don't even know me. After being betrayed by Judas, Judas's kiss in the Garden of Gethsemane, that's Luke 22:47. Yeah. And while he yet spake, behold, the multitude, and he that was called Judas, one of the 12, went before him and drew near unto Jesus to kiss him. And Jesus knew what Judas' motive was. After being betrayed by, I just read that, anxious for his teacher's life, Peter followed the guards to the same place. There he sat outside, waiting to hear word of Jesus' fate. And this is when the denial begins. Remember, I said you ride or die, you're down like slow flats. Here come the first flat. All right, it's a servant, and this is verse 56. In 22. And when they had kindled a fire, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong one, but a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire and earnestly looked upon him and said, this man was also with him. And he denied him, saying, woman, I know him not. Just blew a tire. Verse 1. All right. And then you go on down to 57. And he denied him, so okay, I just read that. He denied woman, I know him not. 58. And after a little while, another saw him and said, thou art also of them. And Peter said, man, I am not. And I'm pretty sure he put a little something on it, each time they kept, saying, I saw you. I saw you. All right, and then 58. And after a little while, another saw him and said, thou art also of them. And Peter said, man, I am not. And about a space of 1 hour after, another confidently affirming, saying, of a truth, this fellow also was with him, for he is a Galilean. And Peter said, man, I know not what thou sayest. And immediately, while he spake, cockle doodle doo, flat tire. Okay. And then the thing, after that, of course, Jesus looked at him like, told you. And it made me think, it's like, wow, Jesus, in our, throughout our, day, our lives, he tells us stuff. We like, no, Jesus, I'm with you. Like, I'm telling you, this is coming up and this is what you're going to do. No, Jesus, I'm with you. Yeah. All right. First strike. It's like, no. Second strike. No. And then third strike, Jesus goes just like this. What do you do? What do you do?
You have to admit it. You have to admit to yourself.
And
you know what? I done messed up.
Yeah.
Again, it's the realization of, oh my word.
But see, self-preservation is just that.
Yeah.
At what point do you have to be, with a gun in your face before you realize, look why I brought myself. Because the only person that brought you there was yourself. 3 times. So after each time, Peter had the opportunity to acknowledge, hey, what am I doing? Am I, first of all, am I in the right place? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Secondly, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? He wasn't. He wasn't in the right place. He wouldn't do what he's supposed to be doing. So of course he's He's acting on his own accord. He's going on his own. He's going rogue.
Mhm.
So what else gonna happen when you go on road doing your own thing?
And it said those three people, they were confident.
Mhm.
And one of them said she earnestly looked him over. I mean, she was,
Right, I mean, I
know, just that dude.
You
You know, the other one confidently, boldly, they don't know what you're saying. You may not know who you are, but I know who you are.
That's like, you tell somebody, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm in the club, so I'll go to the liquor store.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
somebody will see you coming out.
The cashier, the one that check you out every
The
week.
one that bring you up.
The
Yeah.
next day you
Yeah. The one that bring you up every
third
week.
day, like, okay, I see you coming out. No, it wasn't me. And then you at the door, y'all pulling on the door, it's like, dog,
Yeah.
what can you do? They done let you head on, flat tire, busted. So it's like, because my thing is, it's like, how can I say it? I just had it. I would have loved to say, yes, I've been with Jesus, but you denied it. He denied it, 3 times. Because it's like, okay, did it not mean anything to Peter to spend that amount of time with Jesus? With any of them? Because it was like, yeah, I would have loved it. I was with him, but it was more of, what was going to happen as opposed to, is why he denied.
Yeah.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation, as they call it that.
Yeah. That's just like, yeah,
Not
I'm
tonight,
right
right
now.
That wasn't the first time. When he came to death, he was like, why are we gonna go back? They're gonna kill us, Jesus. They want to kill you. This wasn't the very first time.
Right.
He done showed, and some of his disciples have showed self gets in the way.
Yeah.
We get in the way. Self, we want to make sure that self is gonna be all right. We like to get the accolades and the good stuff as long as self is gonna be all right.
So that's, but that's the whole thing, most people want the glory and the fame, but they don't want to put in the word. It's the same thing with this Christian walk. Everybody want to be able to, have people follow them or be able to say something that's profound and everything else, but you don't put the time in to have the Spirit of God say those things for you. You get ahead of God and you say something that you heard somebody else say, and you sound foolish. And like Paige just said, it was self-preservation. It's always going to be that way. Until you realize, because Peter, like Jesse was saying, Peter had already denied right after Jesus asked him, who do you say I am? And then Jesus tells him, you didn't get that. God had to give you that. But then guess what? 3 scriptures down, Jesus had to say, get behind me, Satan, for the same reason. Your lips moving faster than your feet. And you ain't following me. And we do that because something in us craves that attention. But then when that fire get close to this flesh, I gotta go. I gotta back up. I can't be here.
Okay, so we're being persecuted daily. And the thing is, it's just not as bad here as it is across the world. But that day is coming. And it's like, okay, and it makes me think, okay, when that day comes, are we gonna say we're Christians and ready to take that bullet to the head, execution style?
I know you say that, but the day is here now.
Yeah.
It's here right now. There's a lot of people won't say they're Christians and stuff right now. When it's hot, schools, places, I'm telling you, workplaces, when it starts saying, well, you can't bring your religion up here, you can't bring this up here, you'll get fired. Oh, believe me, it's here right now. Yeah.
Can't be in school.
People even persecuting you about the day you do your worship.
Oh, yeah.
People get big to do want to argue. Yeah,
What
well,
we do on Monday?
like the dude told me one day, he said, I believe in the whole Bible. I said, what does that got to do with me inviting you to church? You told me that you be busy on Sunday. And for me to invite you to church on on a Sunday, it would have to be at a certain time. And I said, well, check this out. It's on Saturday.
That's fine.
So what do you? No, I believe in the whole Bible. I believe in the whole Bible. I'm like, what does that got to do with invitation?
No, but
You like, yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, and even still, what does that got to do with invitation? An invite.
and you gave him
An
you gave him
opportunity where you won't even have to be bothered with what you do on Sunday.
And he a preacher.
And you're a preacher. And I visited your church
on a Sunday.
didn't give you no qualms, I didn't go to no Bible scriptures or nothing. When you sent me the invite, I accepted and showed up. And there was a great word that was presented that day. The brother that presented that word brought a mighty word. But I didn't come up to you speaking nothing about, I go to church on Saturday, so I absolutely can't come.
All right. Now, going back to the scripture, it says, at that moment, and this is after the that moment, the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Suddenly, the Lord's words flashed through Peter's mind. Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even knew me or know me. And Peter left the courtyard weeping bitterly. And that made me think, it's like, to disappoint. It's already bad, okay, because we're natural first and then spiritual. It's like, okay, we disappoint our parents, or we disappoint, someone that looks up to us, and then for them to say, I told you, this is going to happen, you did it anyway, and depending on the severity of that or what it was, it's going to tear you up. And then to know that, okay, with Christ, it's just like that, with us. We disappointed him. We did something, that was outside of his will. And we should weep bitterly. We should. Just, be, flat on our face on the floor, just crying out, just letting them forgive me. I'm sorry, here it is, give me another chance to get it right, make it right, and keep it right. Because, there's, because it made me think, like I had shared a Bible study before at the hotel. And that, when I had some time, with the Lord, and it was like, okay, and I was thinking, I never asked my parents to forgive me for being pregnant before I got married. And that, I was just, talking about bitter weep, just hollering, because when it dawned on me, I hurt them. And I never asked them, to forgive me, but it's like, they loved me, so they accepted it, and we moved on. And when I realized I never apologized, I was like, man, and I felt bad. And then the Lord says, now, what about me? And that's what just took me just over the top. And I'm just like, wow. So it's like, okay, and he had to do it like that so that I could understand that type of hurt. Because what God wants us to do has to be his way, not our way. I'll say we go outside of what God wants, so much where it's like, something's got to give, and it just, makes me think, it's like, okay, he wept bitterly because he knew that he hurt Jesus. And it's like, wow, as much as he loves us, as much as he's done for us, or for me, it's like, you steady, straddling the line, which way you gonna go, which way you gonna go, what you gonna do. It's gonna have to be one or the other. You can't be hot or cold. You can't be lukewarm. You gotta be hot or you cold. And I choose to be hot.
Amen.
And what's so good about that is, as we were in Mother Donnie's study, speaking of the love, even after all that was said and done, he still has them fine people. I'm not mad at him. We're not gonna leave him out. He's still part of me. And that's to me, that's really a true test of where I would be with someone if they portray me like that. For me to even say, well, hey man, it's all right. It's okay, man. We still gonna break bread together. We still gonna do good things in the Lord together.
And that's straight up spiritual, because no one can do that for you but the Holy Spirit. They want you to be like, I still love you regardless. But
You know what you just got to be saying, being able to trust somebody like that. Most people today, their spouse could cheat on them, and then they'll go back to their spouse and forgive them. But let God do something in their lives, they won't forgive God, but then they'll forgive somebody that mistreated them. But you won't forgive God for putting something in front of you to get over the hurdle and to save your life. You're talking about a betrayal.
Yeah.
And he'll still love you. Even though you accept somebody else that can't save your life, he'll still love you.
that's amazing. And it makes me, and what you said, it just played right into me not to do. I would like to have Ken, Jesse, Tracy, Wood.
Thank you. You made me a concoction last time.
I'm not supposed to drink it, I heard.
What do you think? Would you like that?
There you go. I still don't trust
It wasn't a betrayal, Fred.
All right.
No, he's saying
All right.
no.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna let him fall because he look like he did it.
We're not gonna do any of those type of Ooh. Now, so the very purpose of Jesus's death was for the forgiveness of sin. All right. This is the black mark against sinners required a perfect sacrifice, which is Jesus. So it's like our redemption is that we are forgiven because of his suffering on the cross and resurrection from the dead on the third day. And we know that Peter failed his test and everything, but God in his mercy forgave Peter and resurrected his faith. He fulfilled Jesus' request that he repent and strengthen his brothers as it's written. So with this demonstration, it's going to show all of that. All right? And this is just, I'm not saying, you this, you that, but it's just how it was given to me. Jesse is man. Brother Ken is Jesus. Put your hands up.
Jesus will eat, boy.
That holy bread. That's that holy bread.
Brother Tracy represents God. Okay. And it's like, out of all the sin and ugly stuff, Jesus is blocking. So all God sees is his son.
Whoa.
It's just like, out of all the ugly stuff,
Yeah.
the reason why we are saved is because of the mediator, the man.
Yeah.
So everything we do, if we have Jesus in our life, all God sees is his son.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like,
That's good.
Yeah.
oh man, we get a chance to,
Yeah.
live and have a fruitful life,
Yeah.
a good life because of Jesus, just like this.
Yeah.
Dad,
Wow.
Dad,
Man.
Dad, please.
Look at me. Look at me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Please. Dad,
Yeah.
please. Dad, please don't. Please. And it's like how y'all can see things. It's like for someone to love me like that. You block it.
Yeah.
You block it. Dad, just look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Forgive, I forgive you, or whatever, however Jesus intercedes for us.
Yeah.
It's, whoo,
Yeah.
and I get excited, I get feel because it's like, I've come such a long way. And I thank Jesus, I thank God for Jesus. Because, I'm some things that, I think some things that I say, some things that I do, I'm like, God, I'm not even worthy to pray to you to ask for forgiveness. But knowing that Jesus is who he is, regardless of what I've done, I'm already forgiven. And I have to receive it and not dwell in it, to move on. And then when I got that, I'm like, woo, hey! Thank you, Lord. It's like, can't say, it's like this, grace is a license to sin. No, it's not. You know, it's just like I thank God for His grace and His mercy, so that I can continue to grow. You know, in the spirit, grow in the Word. You know, stand firm on the Word, and whatever it is I need to do. You know, while I'm still alive.
Right.
You know, to help move the church forward. And I'm just talking about the Church of Jesus Christ. Okay. So,
the illustration just showed, the Bible says, we're our righteousness, so we are clothed in the righteousness of Christ. So, with the demonstration just showed that, just like you said, it's a lot of stuff I do it. But I thank God God see Jesus. He's like, boy, He see me, I'm praise God. Praise God.
thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
For we love His Son so much. You know, I can really I can identify with that.
Ages.
I was going through some turmoil one time, and I was really mad about a situation. I had absolutely refused that I was going to do something that needed to be done. And I was dead set against not doing this. And my oldest daughter, she was involved in this. And she just came to me and she said, Dad, just do it for me. She said, whatever you're mad about, whatever's causing you problems, she said, just do it for me. And man, that really just made me set the anger aside. And I did what I said I wasn't gonna do. I went ahead and did it because I was looking at her. And it really touched me and moved me. She said, Dad, just do it for me. I know you're mad. I know what you feel. She said, just do it for me this time. And that changed. That changed the whole. It changed me. It changed the situation because it just moved.
Because when you think about it, it's like we deserve that spit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We deserve those nails.
Oh yeah.
Being punctured in the side. We deserve to get with the yes,
The cattail.
all of that. But because of His love for us, He went through that.
Yeah.
And I came across this story, and it reminded me of what Jesse told the story about how Allie took a whipping for JC and the kids one time. The story reads, a true and intriguing story of someone's experience. A minister of God didn't have anyone to work with, so he asked God to make him available to whatever would be His will. He checked the want ads because he needed some money, and he saw that there was a bus driving job made available to him. So he worked as a bus driver in South Chicago. If you know anything about Chicago, it's not South Chicago. It's not what I need this word. It's not South Chicago you want to drive a bus in, but that's where he had need. He found out later it was because nobody else wanted to stay on the job, so he drove it. Before a week passed, some thugs got on the bus and didn't pay. They sat in the back, they sneered and jeered and mocked him. The next day, the same thing happened. The third day, it happened again. After it went on for about a week, he decided he didn't have to put up with that. So he decided to call an officer inside the bus to make them pay. He saw one down a block, and after he got a hold of the officer, that the fellas in the back had to pay for several days, would you at least make them pay today? And he did, but unfortunately, the officer got off the bus. When the door was closed, the bus driver drove a little further and turned the corner, and that was the last thing he remembered. They knocked a couple of teeth out of his head, they stole his money, and when he woke up, the bus was empty. He sat there in confusion and disillusionment, wondering, what kind of ministry is this, Lord? I told you I was available, and this was a job you opened up. And he went home, turned the bus in, took the rest of the day off. He stared up at the ceiling as he was nursing his wounds, and he thought, I'm not going to let them get away with that. So through an interesting chain of events, they rounded up, with the help of some officers, the very fellows that took them to court, all 4 of them. The day of the hearing, he stood before the court, and the judge listens carefully and decided the fellows were guilty, and they didn't have any money to buy their way out. So they had to spend some time in jail. Suddenly, the minister realized, here's my chance. He said, Your Honor, may I speak for a few moments? The judge said, yes, you may. The minister said, I'd like for you to tally up all the time these fellows together will be spending in jail, and I'd like to go in on their behalf. And the judge responded, well, that's highly irregular. It has never been done before. And the minister responded, oh, yes, it has, about 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And then in about 4 minutes, he gave them the gospel. 3 of the young men came to know Christ on the spot. One of them later, after the minister was incarcerated, that fellow was having a ministry with those 4 guys who heard the message that somebody else wanted to pay the price for their sin. A living testimony for what Jesus did for us. And when I read that, it made me think about what you said about Allie, and I wanted you to kind of reshare that again, if you would.
It's short and sweet, but yeah, we was gonna whoop the kids. I mean, whoop them. They was gonna get it. Real good. And then Allie, she did not want to see them get whooped. And she said, Daddy, you know what? I'll take their whooping. Really? That's how I don't stop until I know. It's real. And I said, you really want to take their whooping? And she was like, yeah, Daddy, I'll take their whooping for them. And she did. She took the whooping and went on about it. And the kids, later on, they loved on her, and everything, but they seen what sacrifice she did for them. And yeah.
And it just like this, to me, it's like, wow, same story. Jesus take the hits for us every day. Every day. Even when we know that we should take them ourselves. But I bless Jesus. I thank God for Jesus that he loves us enough to do that for us, because he wants all of us to make it. Yeah. And I want all of us to make it.
Amen.
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 Amen. Oh, excuse
Amen. Appreciate God's word this evening.
me. Yes.
2 absolutely wonderful lessons. Let us pray. Father God in heaven, we thank you, Lord. We praise you so much for this word tonight, Lord. We thank you, Father God, for our first lesson about the woman who was caught in the very act of adultery, Lord. We thank you for showing us ourselves, Lord. Lord, we've been the victim, Father, and we've also been the one with the rock in our hand, Lord. Yes. But there's only been one you, Father God, to save us all.
Yes.
We thank you in both situations, Father God, that you show us ourselves, Lord, and you bless us with the opportunity to get right with you, Lord. We thank you also, Father God, for learning more about how we've been Peter, Father God. We've gotten ahead of you so many different times, Father God, and you've always been there for us to tell us beforehand, way beforehand, Lord, don't do this, don't do that, Father God. And you're right there with us, Father God, in the end when we do exactly what you told us not to do, Father God. We thank you, Father God, for chastising us, Lord.
Yes.
We thank you, Father God, for loving us the way you do. Father God, we know, Father God, that every knee shall bow, Father God, every tongue shall confess, Father God. But Father God, we want to receive all of your blessings, all of your word, way before that time, Father God. Father God, we want to receive you open. We don't want to deny you, Lord. We just want to bless you and be lights into this world as you are the light into this world, Father God. Father God, we ask that you bless us to remember your word as we travel through this week, Father God. Bless those, Father God, who couldn't make it here, Lord. We pray, Father God, that they had opportunity to hear your word, Lord. We ask all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right, ladies. She was good in the morning.